Hello students, teachers, parents, history nerds. Hello everybody, and welcome to Nutshelled History, where we lay out the facts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We continue with our Early America series by looking at the move toward independence. Don't forget to grab that fill-in-the-blanks worksheet. The link is in the description. Okay, let's go. By June 1775, there were about 6,000 British troops camped in Boston. Colonial militia were atop Breed's Hill, which overlooked the city and the harbor. Nearby were more Americans on Bunker Hill. British General William Howe decided to attack straight up the hill. His first and second attacks failed, and many of his men were killed. His third attack succeeded, but about 1,000 British soldiers had been killed or wounded. The American losses totaled about 400. Although the British won this battle, the Battle of Bunker Hill, the Americans proved their bravery and ability to fight professional British soldiers. When Washington arrived, he found about 16,000 British troops in Boston. While he worked to forge a fighting force out of men loyal to their own colonies, the cannons that had been seized by Ethan Allen from Fort Ticonderoga arrived. Good timing. Washington set them up overlooking Boston, and the British commander realized he could not hold the city. In March 1776, the British forces and about 1,000 loyalists sailed out of Boston for Canada. At the beginning of 1776, few colonists were inclined to support a struggle for independence. As we discussed in the last video, only about a third of the colonists supported fighting for independence. The publication of Thomas Paine's Common Sense, however, marked the beginning of a shift in people's thinking. In this pamphlet, Paine stated that colonists owed no loyalty to any king or to Britain. It said that Britain had helped the colonists only for its own profit. Common Sense sold more than 500,000 copies in just 6 months. Common Sense changed many people's minds about independence, including members of the Continental Congress. In June 1776, Richard Henry Lee presented to Congress a resolution from his home state of Virginia on the right of the colonies to be free. After much debate, the Congress assigned a committee to write a formal statement listing reasons the colonies should separate from Britain. The committee chose Thomas Jefferson to draft the document. Congress met in July 1776 to approve the Declaration of Independence. On July 4, 1776, the approval was announced. From that time forward, the Patriots were fighting to become an independent nation. The Declaration of Independence has 3 parts. The preamble, or introduction, explains why the document was written. It stresses the idea of natural rights, those every person has from birth. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Following the preamble is a list of grievances against King George III of England. He was accused of failing to protect the colonists' rights. Beyond that, the king was accused of actually violating their rights. The conclusion of the Declaration of Independence introduced the colonies as the United States of America, free of all ties to Britain. An ending pledge demonstrated the seriousness of the colonists' Declaration of Independence. Independence had been declared, but it still had to be won. Washington's Continental Army was not much of a match for the British forces commanded by General Howe, and the Americans retreated from Long Island through New York, into New Jersey, and then Pennsylvania. Despite the help of early heroes like Nathan Hale, the war was not going well. Enlistment contracts were set to end at the end of the year, and with such low morale from all the defeats, it would be doubtful to get many re-enlistments. Without an army, the Patriots were sure to be defeated. Then, on the night of December 25, 1776, Washington led his ragtag army across the frozen Delaware River to Trenton, where a force of German soldiers or Hessians was camped. These were mercenaries fighting for the British. The Americans took most of the Hessians prisoner. They were able to escape British forces who tried to retake Trenton. This was the victory needed to save the Continental Army. British leaders hoped to cut New England off from the rest of the colonies and sever vital supply lines. But of the 3 forces meant to carry out the plan, only the one led by General Burgoyne arrived in Albany. Despite retaking Fort Ticonderoga, Burgoyne was surrounded by American troops at Saratoga. He surrendered his entire force. The American victory at Saratoga was a major turning point because it convinced France to help the new nation. It convinced them that we could win this thing with a little help. Anything that would weaken Britain was a good thing to the French king. France was on their way. Okay, it's recap time. The Patriots lost at Bunker Hill, but there was a silver lining. We weren't cowards. We didn't really have a national identity yet, so George Washington was trying his best to build a fighting force out of soldiers loyal to their colonies. Ethan Allen showed up in Boston with those cannons that he and the Green Mountain Boys nabbed from Fort Ticonderoga earlier. Washington set those bad boys up overlooking Boston. The British troops saw them and were like, nah, and scooted up to Canada with a bunch of loyalists. Thomas Paine convinced a bunch of dudes that it was common sense that we should be independent, so we had Thomas Jefferson declare independence. America! We still had to fight to earn it, though. Washington and his troops gave the Hessians in Trenton a sneak attack for a Christmas present, which basically saved the Continental Army. Then, we won at Saratoga, and that is what you call a turning point. It convinced France to help us win our newly declared independence. We will save your butts later, France. Don't worry. There you have it, folks. That is the move toward independence, nutshelled. Thanks for stopping by Nutshelled History. Don't forget to go nuts on the like and subscribe buttons. Do you have any common sense? Let us know in the comments down below.